My guest today on Witness Interrogation is Mr. Robin Shaw. He's an accomplished English educator, the creator of YouTube channels Learn English Live, Daily English Homework, IELTS Insider, and his flagship channel Shaw English Online, which has over 1 million subscribers. He has helped many English learners and teachers succeed. He currently lives and teaches in South Korea, but like me, Robin is a Canadian. So I'm very curious to get to know him. It is my honor and my pleasure to welcome to the show Mr. Robin Shaw. So let's get to know Mr. Robin Shaw. Welcome to the show, Robin.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Paul. Thank you for
Great.
inviting me.
As I said, the pleasure and honor is mine. I've admired your work on YouTube for a long time, and I'm really happy that in the last year we connected and got to know each other a little bit.
Yes.
It's really wonderful.
I think we've known each other for about 6 months now.
That's right, yeah. It's one of the amazing things about, it's really, for me, it's the heart of what's valuable about the internet is connectivity. And I think sometimes we forget to take advantage of that, I guess.
Yeah, it's especially during the lockdown time, I think more people were forced to take advantage of or use it. And certainly the bulk of my online students I probably met during lockdown. So
That was a real concentrated time, wasn't it?
a lot of them went to the internet seeking a teacher.
All
right, I see a few of my students here, so I'll say
Okay,
hello
great.
to my students. Thanks for coming.
Are you
And
actually able, on your side of the platform, are you able to put up the graphic? I don't know what it looks like on your side.
I cannot see any function to put up a graphic.
Okay. We have Shireen. Do you know Lolly?
Yes, Lolly. I've known her for years. I'm surprised she's here. I don't know how she found you, but she does visit a lot of teachers' live streams. So hello, Lolly. I'm happy to see you here and surprised to see you here. Lolly,
we have Robin.
how'd you find Paul?
Yeah, Lolly, how did you find us? How did you find my channel? Interesting coincidence, perhaps. And we have Robin Cardillo, another
I
Robin.
like your name.
Oh, here's Lolly again. Great. So it's clear that some of these people know you already. To what extent, I don't know. But some of the viewers who follow my show may not be familiar with you. So this is a great opportunity for me to introduce you to them. And I would encourage all of you out there who follow Hardboiled English Live to check out Robin's channels. Now I have a little screenshot of your YouTube channel. Let's see if it, oh, sorry, Robin. Gosh, that just covers you right up.
I can scoot on over to the side.
Yeah, gosh, sorry about that. Let's see. Let's see if we can change the screen a little bit and get a third up here. Oh, still covers you. This is Robin's channel. The main, I guess this is your flagship channel, Shaw English.
Yes,
Online?
that's my main channel. I started that in 2013.
Great. And if you go there, you can see down here, guys, we have the 3 other channels. I'm going to get you to describe what your channels do in a few moments, but to start with, Robin, I'd like to go back in time a little bit and let's talk about your superhero origin story. Tell us about your upbringing, your background, and your journey to becoming an English teacher in the first place.
Well,
Who is Robin Shaw?
As you mentioned, I'm from Canada, like yourself. You are in the Vancouver area. I grew up in Alberta, the next province to you. I did. I grew up in this. Well, I was born in Fort McMurray. Have you heard of Fort McMurray? Yes.
I have, yeah,
Yeah. So that's
quite north.
that's quite north, and it's a cold place. It's a dark place, and I left Fort McMurray when I was about 16. Moved to Edmonton. Did high school in Edmonton, and then I went to university in the University of Alberta, and I studied English literature.
Hmm.
Um, my original my original major was psychology, but after I guess about a month, I switched that to English literature because I enjoyed reading, and I did have a skill where I could read very fast
Oh,
compared to my peers. So that was one of my skills at that time because I read a lot in middle school, high school. So when I joined the English department, and a lot of the homework is reading, and I could get through that material really fast, and I was always prepared for the exams, and I could write essays, and that was a better match for me. And then in 1999, I was going to graduate, and you know I'm going to have a degree in English literature. So, like all people facing graduation, were worried about our job, and I heard about people going over to Asia to teach English, and I decided I'm going to try that for 1 year. So I had a few interviews, and I ended up coming to Korea in 1999 as an English teacher. At that time, I graduated with a degree in English literature, but that doesn't train you as a teacher.
right.
So I did take a TESOL course uh, prior to going, and then I went to Korea in 1999. I planned to stay 1 year, and I am still here.
What do you remember? What kept you there after that year? What made you decide to stay there rather than moving
well,
on or coming back?
well, since this is a witness interrogation, I'll give the true answer. I don't want to lie to you.
Thank
I
you.
don't want to get.
Just the facts.
The first year in Korea was terrible. It was a very, very bad experience, and then you would think, well, why would that make him stay an extra year or continue to stay?
Does
It's
seem odd.
just when you come here, I had a very bad school. I don't want to say bad, but it was a split shift schedule. So first
That's
class,
tough.
um, 6:30 a.m. Last class ends at 10 p.m. with a big break in the afternoon. That was a
And
tough
what do you do?
schedule
Yeah.
for a first job, right? And my housing was in a basement, often flooded. There was cockroaches.
Yikes.
It was a very stressful time for me that first year, but I could see other teachers, who have been there a few years. I could see what the jobs they have, the accommodations they have. And I thought, wow, that I could get that. So yeah, my second year I was able to get a better job and house, and the year after that it just kept climbing up, and I stayed.
Luz Mundi has a theory about why you stayed. Was that part of it?
Okay, I must confess that was a part of it. Sure.
Fair enough.
Korean women are so pretty. I was shocked when I came here because Korean women do look younger than their age compared to um, Canadians or North Americans. So yeah, the females in my class, they like to ask me, how old do I look? Because I always, I would say, oh well, really, you look about 25, but actually they're 40.
Hmm.
So they enjoyed my class, I guess, after I said
Yeah,
that.
that's great. Yeah, it seems like they are very concerned with beauty products, and uh, beauty in general is a real driving force in that culture.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, that's a true statement.
So you've been there since 1999. You no longer live in a basement. Hopefully, the cockroaches are no longer an issue.
Korea, well, I've been here so long. Korea has cleaned up a lot. Over the 23 years I've been here, Korea has really, really cleaned up on. I haven't seen a cockroach in years.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a rat in years. Can you say that in Vancouver?
Well,
Vancouver.
there's my apartment is in a nice condo, but I had a terrible mouse problem last year. So, I mean, cute little mice, but I had to trap them and kill them. They're still annoying and kind of freak you out when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah, so I don't have problems like that in Korea anymore. Or not
Yeah.
just me, but other people. New teachers coming in, they have uh, such a better deal than I had. They're spoiled.
So, tell me, what does a typical Robin Shaw day look like?
Right now, I teach at a university in Incheon, the city next to Seoul. I've been
Yep.
teaching at that particular university for about 10 years. So I will wake up and, like maybe every human on the planet now, check my phone first, because students from around the world are going to be contacting me while I'm asleep. So I want to
Yeah.
see what's happening on WhatsApp and Facebook, and deal with those issues. Then I get up, eat my breakfast, drive to school, teach. Usually about two classes a day. One class is about 2 hours, and then I have some office hours with my students, and then I go home, and the rest of that time is usually devoted to YouTube. So I have to edit videos and write scripts, and usually filming videos on the weekend, things like that.
Hmm.
I don't usually watch TV. I don't usually watch Netflix. There's two jobs, right? You got your day job, which for me, which is the university, and then in the evening, I have to hustle. I have to work
Yeah.
on YouTube.
People see your YouTube channel and it's clearly done very well, but they may not see the amount of work you've put into building that. It doesn't happen overnight, right?
Uh, y- I don't think anyone here could imagine how much work that is. When I think back to the amount of work I've had to do, it is so much. It's enormous.
Yeah.
And if I could go back and talk to me, I'd say, do less work, do less.
One thing I've noticed about your channels that what really struck me when I first discovered the whole Shaw English, what's the world, universe, was that you had a variety of different channels, but also within Shaw English, you would have a variety of different teachers. Can you tell me about how that came about, or what was the original idea behind that?
Uh,
By the way,
I
they're all
just
really amazing teachers. I've been very, very taken with it.
I've been lucky with some of them. Uh, uh, so 2013, I decided to make the videos, and I'm camera shy. Uh, so I thought, I'm not going to make the best teacher, because I did practice. I did try to make videos myself, but I felt, oh, I'm having a very hard time to speak on camera. Like, I know everyone's watching me now. I can speak on camera, but that's after 10 years of experience. But at
Yeah,
that time, I probably couldn't get through a sentence without um, thinking, oh, I'm terrible. I got to start again. So
yeah,
when you film and you do another take, it was just so much time being wasted. So I decided I'm going to hire a teacher to
Mm,
teach. And there's another reason too, because when you're on camera, you really have to focus on the content and how to deliver that content.
yes.
But you also have to focus on the camera. Is it in focus? The
Hmm.
sound? Am I being recorded? The lighting? Is there something on my face? There's so many other things that you need to monitor and check,
Yes.
and that's really hard. And you do this, that
Yeah.
there's so many things to keep your focus at one time, and I'm not good at multitasking in that way. So
Hmm.
I decided it's better for me to focus on the camera, the equipment, get the teacher ready before filming, and then when we film, the teacher's ready and I'm ready, and it'll just go faster, so much faster.
Great. How did you find those teachers? Did you know them already from your work or?
I put up an ad on Craigslist,
Oh,
and
interesting.
I interviewed them. I would ask them some grammar questions, and some of them could answer the grammar questions. Okay, then you can teach grammar. And some of them couldn't teach grammar, but they had a personality. They're still a teacher, and they had a good personality. So okay, we'll use this content or material for you.
Yeah,
And I did find a few good teachers, but there are a few teachers uh, that were terrible, and I didn't use their content.
mm, yeah, it's a very different thing, isn't it? Being able to teach on camera. What you said about being camera shy, I can relate to it. When I started making videos, I'm a pretty introverted guy. I like to be alone. I like to work alone. When I first started making videos, I had already been teaching a lot. So I knew I could stand in front of a class and teach something. I was comfortable with that. I'm not shy per se, but the idea of being on camera was absurd to me. And because I always like to make films, I always like to be the director and the writer of it. And I like to have, I experimented with short films in the past and always had actors. But then when I realized that this was going to be like English Weirdness was going to be an English grammar series, well, okay, I was going to write it, I was going to direct it. I had a student of mine who volunteered to be the camera operator. He was an aspiring filmmaker. Now he's a professional. So, but then what was going to be on camera, because it was an educational thing, I had to do it. I had to be the focus of it. It's not because I wanted to be seen and famous or anything like that. I just had to be part of the content because the content was me. But it's even this live show. I totally know what you're saying because I have to perform live, and usually I'm doing board work, explaining something. But there's so much technical stuff to make sure it's there, and most of the time I have to operate it alone. So I love the idea
Yeah,
of having
live is
teacher
another level.
performers.
This is more stressful because
It's
if you
crazy.
ever get the comment, teacher, we can't hear you.
And there's so many different things that could be going wrong when they can't hear you. Actually, the
Uh,
very first time I went live, my apartment building had a power failure. So 5 minutes into the show, the whole thing cut out. After promoting it for a week, it was terrible.
and although I was camera shy and I did hire teachers, I made 300 videos total in 2 months. I was still in 100 of those videos. And I
Amazing.
was in 100 of those videos because the scheduled teacher did not show up.
Oh,
So the show
amazing.
must go on. Okay,
Yeah,
so
of
I
course.
had no choice. Okay, I got to do it. Teacher's not here. I have to do it.
Yeah. And the show went on and it's been a success. Um,
And it's my channel, but certainly I'm not the top teacher on my channel, but that's okay. I'm very happy to promote other teachers, and I'm happy for their success.
Yeah, you've had some fantastic teachers, and you still new ones seem to be appearing. I wonder if you could take a minute and just sort of describe each of the different channels to us and what they do.
Well, I have the main one, Shaw English, and as I said, I'm not the I'm not the face of the channel. I don't promote myself. I'm not, on so I'm not on most of the videos or any videos now. So a lot of the people on that channel don't know who I am, and I understand.
Right.
They don't know Shaw is Robin Shaw, and they don't make that connection. I do have a teacher, Esther. She's very, very popular.
Yeah.
Most of my viewers subscribe because of her, and I
She's an
understand
excellent teacher.
they just connect with her very well. So I decided I'm going to make some other channels where I'm the focus. So I know whoever's watching that channel is there for me.
Okay.
So I started Learn English Live, I think 2017. Live streaming just started. I thought, well, I'll try live, and then this year I started uh, daily English homework. I think in June, and IELTS Insider. So IELTS Insider I do with another teacher, James. So he's a very good IELTS teacher, and I have experience teaching IELTS. He said, or I talked to him, let's start an IELTS channel. Okay, let's offer that. And the daily English homework, I decided to give homework every day to my
I love
students,
that.
and I check it. I don't check it every day, but I do check it. And the Learn English Live is just to offer something live for the students, like you're doing now. When I
Hmm.
started it, there wasn't many options. Now there's more options. There's
Yeah.
more competition, like you, with better prepared live streams.
I think there's room for everyone. We're all kind of doing something different. I remember early on when I was streaming, I reached out and invited a couple of YouTuber teachers to the show. And they certainly had more popularity than I did, more subscribers. And some of them got back to me and said, no thanks. Some of them said, yes, come on, I'd love to. And in some of my exchanges with them, I sensed a bit of, I don't know how to describe it, but, that kind of petty competitiveness, like if I go on your channel, I'm helping you, but not helping me or something. I don't, for me,
I
that's not helpful for anyone. We're all trying to do the different things. We're all trying to help people learn English.
In the YouTube universe, I guess, in the education, or especially the English education categories, yeah, we're not, the teachers there don't really interact as much as other YouTube categories. But certainly, I do not see other teachers as competition at all.
Yeah.
That's why I'm eager to talk with, reach out to, collaborate with. Size doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Uh, I do have the Shaw English, but I do consider myself, down in the trenches here, struggling because I have the baby channels that every day I have to go through the struggle to
Yeah.
promote, and so I do understand the struggle very well. And yeah, I don't see competitors.
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about why people use YouTube. And there's a lot of reasons why someone would do YouTube, and I can only speak for myself. My whole motivation for all of this is just to connect with and reach viewers and help them develop their English skill with whatever I have to offer. And I don't have everything to offer, I do some things well and other things not well. And in my motivation to help others, for me, it's like, if I can introduce them to your channel and you're doing different things than I am, it's better for them, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm eager. I put out the word in in our WhatsApp group and some other WhatsApp groups. Come watch this interview. Check out Teacher Paul here. He's a very interesting person and an
That's
excellent
nice of you to
teacher.
say. I appreciate that.
Well,
Chris has a,
it's actually hard to find teachers because on YouTube there's a lot of people posing as teachers,
yes.
and they probably couldn't answer a grammar question if you asked them. And
Yeah.
it's frustrating because sometimes they're a lot more successful, and you watch them and you're like, oh, they're not trained as a teacher. They don't really know about grammar. They don't have experience, but they're outperforming me.
Hmm.
uh, that's YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's the whole social media landscape. Because everyone can express their view and their opinion, everyone does. And it doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's factual. And in the case of education, it doesn't mean the information's valid or the teaching skill is at a professional level. There's not really any way of knowing it unless you devote time to following someone and getting to know them. And let's face it, a lot of professional teachers are working in schools. They have jobs. They're not on YouTube. For me, YouTube was an opportunity to perhaps combine my love of video filmmaking and my work as a teacher. And the pandemic just made me put more time into it because I'm at home now. But
So for me, I do check when I talk to a teacher. I don't expect teachers to be perfect with grammar. I'm
yeah,
certainly not perfect with grammar, but I expect them to be able to handle grammar or be able to,
yeah.
basic concepts. And then I saw your channel. I was like, wow, this guy knows grammar. He's the grammar detective. So I was impressed with your videos.
Well, and what I'd like to let people know is that when I changed the YouTube channel, originally it was Hard Boiled English because that was the name of this live show. But after meeting you and talking to you, you're the one that suggested that I take my theme and really go all the way with it and call it the Grammar Detective. That
Well,
really was your
I
tip.
love your theme. I don't know about the students, but your intro and the concept. I'm impressed that I think it's a really good theme. I hope students connect with it.
Yeah, I wanted to, one of the pieces of advice I had early on, if I was going to do anything on YouTube, is to differentiate yourself and do it in the most authentic way. And I thought, well, what's different about me is my former career. I used to be a private investigator in a previous career. I'm an educator now, and I love to make films. So why not put it all together and have fun with it so that it's enjoyable for me, and that it is something that's going to be different and a little bit of entertainment value because to be honest with you, maybe I'm a bit of a boring guy. So if I play up with this character a little, I get to put on a little bit of a show. So it's been really fun, and I appreciate that tip, that insight you had when you were exploring the hashtag hardboiled English versus grammar detective. It was very clear the direction I should move in. But let's get back to you. So YouTube, Shaw English, daily homework. I love that daily homework, by the way. I watch it when I can because the time difference is tricky, but I just love the engagement. The students are engaged, they're doing the homework, and they're getting real feedback from you. That's learning, you know?
Yeah, I try out new stuff all the time, and I thought, well, how can I, how what can I offer on YouTube that other people are not offering? And I noticed with the Shaw English, my big channel, I'm one of the rare channels of that size to try and answer every comment, and there's a lot of comments. So, and I noticed that the students really appreciated that. Uh, and then I thought, okay, so if I work on a smaller level where I could, comment in a little more detail, perhaps students would like that from a teacher. and so far so good.
That's great. I've often said that, one of the most, like, I work with students privately online now, one to one. And when we start off, I always make a point of mentioning one of the things that I'm of value to you is feedback. Because there's lots of great books where you can learn some English words, some English grammar, but then you have to try it, you have to speak it, you have to write it. But then you're shooting in the wind, right? At some point, you need feedback to know what you're doing incorrectly and what you're doing well so that you can repeat the good stuff and fix the bad stuff. And I think that's so important for a learner. And that's what you're doing with daily homework, is giving them direct feedback. It's really impressive.
They,
It's a lot of work.
I was surprised because a lot of the students that do come back every day and do the homework, I could see their improvement, like over the months. I was like, wow, this student who joined in July, and now if they're doing a writing homework, wow, their writing has improved so much.
Hmm.
And I'd like to take credit, but it's up to the student to put in the time and effort to listen to what you're
Yeah.
saying and to actually make that effort to improve. And I think a lot of the students on that channel are very serious about improving. And probably that channel, those students impress me the most.
Yeah. They're
So anyone here who knows who's on my daily English homework, you guys impress me. I see some of them here.
yeah, I'm really I stand in admiration of that because of the work they're putting in and the work you're putting in. But let's go back to your work at the university. I'm curious, while I have you here, is what particular challenges do your Korean students face in learning English? Are there something particular that they're always struggling with, generation after generation, or cohort after cohort?
Well,
Is there a
we
pattern?
would first have to start with the culture, and the Korean culture. One aspect of the culture is that young people should not really speak around older people. They should listen. So in a classroom, when I enter a classroom, I'm the professor, and just on the cultural level, in their Korean classrooms, the professors actually just lecture. They do not have much interaction, engagement in the classroom with the student. And then they come to my class, and I'm an older professor, and they're following their culture and how their class is with the other professors. They're not going to talk. And they feel if they do talk, that that's somehow disrespectful. So right away, I have to try and get over that obstacle. This is different,
Yeah.
students. You're okay to speak in front of me. Don't be shy. And yeah, they're shy too,
Yeah.
as most students, young students. My students are about range is 18 to 21, so
Okay. Young adults.
they're shy. And then once we overcome that, the new problem is phones.
Ah.
So the phones, are distracting them, stealing their attention, and yeah, decreasing their attention span. So my class is 2 hours. So over the years, 2 hours is manageable, but uh, we had the lockdown. I was teaching online. This is the first semester. I'm back in the school. 2 hours is a long time to stay focused. So
You
I've
really
really
saw a
had.
change.
Oh, I'm not even going to try to. I actually don't use a book anymore. So after 23 years, I threw out that textbook and I said, look, okay, you're just doing speaking activities. So I designed a course where they're always doing some sort of speaking activity in the class or researching the grammar they need outside the class. Of course, if they have questions, they can ask me, but I wasn't going, our school is Korean, which is a little bit traditional conservative in the classroom where here's the textbook, teach units one to whatever. And I was like, that's not going to work with this
Mm-hmm.
group. And I think I made the right choice because my coworkers using textbooks, the scores are down, down a lot for their classes, and it's the attention span.
Yeah.
These things are, everyone's used to quick information,
Yeah.
and I don't blame them. Quick information is good, and they come into the class, and it's like, I'm going to do a 2-hour lecture. Yeah, maybe I'll break it up, but I have to do the book, and I have to do this. When let's open the book, most of them are sleeping or on the phone, and
Yeah.
so
We have to adapt our methods, right?
that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Their shyness and the phones and the attention span.
In terms of grammar, are there specific grammar issues that trouble Korean students compared
Uh,
to other students?
the usual problems you probably find in most countries, tenses.
Tenses,
So
yeah.
they they do have a problem with in their writing with past tense
Yeah.
in Korea, and of course using articles
Mm,
and the.
yeah.
Uh, they didn't learn uh, very well how to use articles, and when they're going from their language one to their language two, there's some issues there with articles being used in English, not in Korean. And yeah, third person singular, that's really hard. I work on
Mm,
that. I show them, he, she, it, verb. Let's put that S there.
yeah.
Mm,
Tricky
I can
stuff.
teach that over and over. They're still not going to get that or miss that. But generally speaking, I think Koreans are strong in grammar
Mm-hmm.
because when they start learning English in elementary school, third grade, and it's heavily grammar focused. So before they come to my class, they probably had about 10 years of grammar study, whether it was in the public school system or the private academy. So not too much trouble with grammar. If I give them a writing assignment, they're going to do really well compared to speaking. So
So
uh,
speaking is really the weaker point, right?
yes. So compared to my international students, my Korean students are very weak at speaking. International students are more willing to try. Uh, you know, even if they make a mistake. But my Korean students, they're it's very difficult for them to get out of their shell and try to speak English.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question from Guy. He says, "Do adults study English in Korea?" Sounds like they
Gee's,
do, right? You're
Gee's a she.
ah. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Well, her name's Anna. Uh,
Ah.
she's one of my students. Yes, adults do study in Korea. They study at the private school. I used to work at private school and teach adults. Adults are great. They are, well, I guess my students are technically adults because they're over 18, but
Mm-hmm.
it when they enter the workforce and they see their colleagues and they see the need for English,
Mm.
then when they go to the private school, usually after work in the evening, they'll go to the private school. They're more eager to learn and try to speak. So adults are great in Korea. I do prefer teaching adults just because they're so highly motivated.
Yeah.
Um, College, university students, they're still students. You got to tell them, you got to do your homework. But
Yeah.
Adults, they want to do it. They're
Hmm.
there because they want it. You
Yeah.
don't really need to tell them to do anything.
I've worked with a fair amount of Korean students in Canada, and if they've taken the trouble of coming to Canada, they're generally of one of two camps. One, they're just trying to escape reality and have a year off to sightsee and play and meet international friends. Or, like you said, they're very dedicated because they see the career opportunities that come with better English, or even just having study abroad on your resume. But they're very dedicated and motivated. It makes teaching a lot more enjoyable because you're not responsible for their motivation. They are, and they bring it.
Actually, when a student asks me about Canada and they say, "Where should I study in Canada?" I usually tell them, "Don't study in Vancouver." Just because there's a lot of Koreans
A lot of
living
Koreans
there.
there.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of students already there. There's a lot of Korean tourists, and then other Asian countries. So I usually recommend try not to. Yeah, the easiest places to go are Vancouver, Toronto, because they have
Hmm.
the language school systems that are aggressively recruiting in
Yeah.
countries like Korea, and it's very easy to join those groups, those schools. So I
Yeah.
usually recommend Calgary, Edmonton, Regina. I do prepare them. If you do go to these places, it's going to be cold, but you'll have more opportunity to speak English. You'll have more
Yeah.
opportunity. The thing is, in Korea, in Vancouver, the Korean student usually has Korean friends.
And
After
there's
the class,
Korean,
okay, we
yeah,
studied in the morning. I'm going to go play with my Korean friends.
at the
If you're
Korean
it,
restaurant.
yeah, when you're in these smaller cities, I do see them interacting with Canadians more.
Yeah.
So it is possible. I have a student. They studied in Vancouver for 2 years, and they don't have a Canadian friend. So Vancouver is a great place, and you can learn English. But I say go to a little more challenging place where you're kind of
Yeah.
forced to meet new people that are not Korean, and
Yeah.
Korean doesn't get you far in those places.
Yeah. That people are, especially young people, may be afraid of the discomfort of that, but that very discomfort, that sort of alienating experience, like you said, it forces them to dedicate their effort to English, and that's how they improve. When I worked at a language school in Vancouver, I guarantee you the students go out at night only with their 90% of them go out with their similar language group. They're all just, go into their silos. And of course in Vancouver there's a Korean bar, Korean restaurant, there's a Japanese restaurant, Japanese bar, there's a Brazilian restaurant, and they all go into their separate ways. And
It's not going to
they
help
don't
them.
mingle. Yeah. You've touched on it earlier a little bit, but maybe just for the people that joined us late, what are the challenges you face teaching in Korea? Is there anything else besides the culture of, like you were describing, where they defer to the teacher so much and don't talk? Is there anything else that you faced that was a challenge, maybe outside of the classroom,
Um,
besides the cockroaches?
I've been here so long. It's everything's all the challenges are gone. These
Okay.
days, it's not so challenging for me.
Yeah.
There is, I guess, if I had to choose something that's challenging, there's for my students. There's still, I don't want to say bad things, right?
Sure, of course.
But the whole country is still a little xenophobic. So
Yeah.
xenophobic means they're not used to foreigners. A little bit, suspicious of foreigners, and I still get a lot of that in
Yeah.
Korea. Even among my students, they're like, "Who's this guy? He's not Korean. Why should I listen to him?" Uh,
Hmm.
so Koreans tend to prefer learning English from another Korean. They
Interesting.
don't prefer to learn from a native English speaker, which you think, why, international students around the world, if I had access and time with a native speaker, wow, that's great. But Koreans don't think that way. They think, oh, I prefer to have a Korean teacher teach me the grammar, teach me everything I need to know in Korean.
Yes.
And that is very frustrating to me because
Hmm.
that's not how I think they should learn English. I think,
Yeah.
they prefer not to go to a YouTube channel like you or me. They prefer only to go to the Korean YouTube channel, watch the Korean live stream where the Korean teacher speaks Korean for 1 hour, and that's their English study. So
Hmm.
that's very frustrating to me.
Yeah. I think, you and I learned English as children, not through translation. We learned English in English, and they learned Korean in Korean. But there's this hesitation to learn a second language with the second language. I mean, once you have some basic, maybe you need the basic through translation. When I was in university, I studied Japanese, and it wasn't taught to us in translation. We learned Japanese the same way a Japanese child would. We learned the alphabet, we learned the sounds, we put together words. And it was
Uh,
thorough, so you understand the cultural logic as well.
yes. So these immersion techniques, especially in Canada with French immersion, they do a great job, and in Europe, they'll do more immersion. Korea's no, they have a preference, and it's like I want to, that's a way to study English, but I want you to do it a better way, a more
Yeah.
efficient way, and it's no, I like my preference. It's
Hmm.
I can't I don't have the power to convince them, Paul. So
Yeah. So much of things in life, it comes down to comfort and convenience. People naturally go towards comfort and convenience instead of the uncomfortable experience. But the uncomfortable experience is the one that's going to teach you more. But
but
it's hard to
I
shake that.
find other countries are not like that. I don't know
Yeah.
about Japan. I've never taught in Japan. I do not have many Japanese students, but when I teach South Americans, they seem very eager to engage with the native speaker.
Yeah.
Middle East, India, they seem very eager to engage with the native speaker or see the value of that. But for online students, I don't have Koreans. They don't watch
Yeah.
my material. They don't. They don't. They don't come into WhatsApp groups. They don't online. There's no Koreans are not my students.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've experienced in the past sometimes Asian students will tell me, whether it's Korean or Japanese, will tell me, oh, I'm afraid to talk to them because nobody understands my culture. Well, don't underestimate people. You know, people around the world do have some understanding of Japanese or Korean culture. And not only that, they have a lot of admiration for it, which is a great starting point for you to help your friend learn about your culture. But I think there's this underestimation, like, oh, almost a victimization, like, oh, nobody understands me. We're so different. And in my experience, that's not very helpful and not very accurate. I think we're all pretty darn similar, more so than we are different. But I think you're right. There's a South American student here, one of my former students, if I'm not mistaken, Luciano, and he's from Chile. Luciano, I think you're from Chile. I can't remember clearly. But he was one of those young guys who was willing to engage with any culture student. And he learned, he developed, he grew.
That's
So,
that's how you do it.
yeah. I have another question for you, Robin, and I
Yeah,
want to
please
respect your
keep.
time here.
No, I'm okay.
But I want to know what motivates you to keep going, despite all these challenges we've talked about. And not only the challenges in a classroom, but going from the classroom and then managing your YouTube projects. It's 7 days a week, it sounds like you're working. Why do you do it? What motivates you? What keeps pushing you?
Uh, Probably the smaller channels, which I can engage and talk to the students more one on one in the WhatsApp groups. I do form friendships. Uh, I can see Anna's here. I've known her for 5 years, maybe. Uh, Eunice is here. I think I've known him for about 8 months. Anna Maria is here. I've known her for about 8 months. I know them very well, like really, really well. We talk every day. It goes beyond English. It goes into just life and
Life, yeah.
ups and downs, and that helps them learn too. Just to have a
Yeah.
friend like me talk about. Yeah, we're not going to talk about grammar. We're going to talk about something more authentic, right? So the students, you just form such great relationships.
Hmm.
And I'm traveling uh, next Monday. I'll start my vacation, and I'm going to go to a few
Yay.
countries and visit some students.
That's great. Wow. That's I've done that a couple of times, meeting students in their countries, and I got to say that's an amazing experience. Have you done that in the past? Met students in their countries?
Uh, just one. I met a guy in Costa Rica, and when I met him, he was so shy. I think he was just shocked to finally see me face to face. He was just so shy. He couldn't say anything. He didn't know what to say, uh, and but I tried to prepare students in the future. If
Yeah.
I meet you, you can't be shy. That's your speaking test.
Nice. Real life speaking test.
In real life speaking, well, yeah, that's why they're learning. The foreigners there, they got to communicate.
It's a great final test. If only we could do that for all the students, right?
We-
Go to make that part of the curriculum, right? They have to invite us to their countries, and that'd
Well,
be
that would be
nice.
great.
What projects are there any new? I know you're very busy, so I'm expecting a no here, but are there other projects you are working on or want to get going? Goals for the future?
Uh, yes, there are. I do have another YouTube channel related to English teaching, but it's not officially launched yet. But it's focused more on AI learning. So there's no teacher in the video.
Okay, very interesting.
Uh, a, a lot of there's one group of students, they like their teachers and they attach to a teacher and they try to engage with that teacher. But there's a lot of students, they go on these platforms. They're not interested in the person. They're just
Hmm.
interested in the content. And uh, AI can deliver that in a kind of neutral. Here's just the information. So I'm going in that direction for this other channel. And I'll keep you updated when it's ready to
Yeah, it sounds
launch.
really interesting. Which kind of brings me to the next question, which is actually a question given to me by another viewer and friend of mine who runs an English learning program in Toronto. His name is Anish Dea of On the Spot Language. And he asked me to ask you this, which is what is the future of English language learning in general? Where do you think it's going? Is it going in the AI direction? Is that a big part of it?
Uh, yes, yes. So teachers think, can a AI ever replace a teacher in a classroom? And the answer is no. The teacher in the classroom is always very important. But are students in 10 years learning in a classroom?
Hmm.
No, that the medium has changed. It's something else. So yeah, if you always have a classroom, certainly no robot or AI can do what a teacher or at the level a teacher can do in the classroom. But as things are transitioning online and AI is being developed in 10 years, certainly you and I can have a conversation right now. You can be an avatar, I can be an avatar, we can both be AI, and especially maybe language learners wouldn't be able to know
Yeah.
that is possible. Um, very possible. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know exactly where it's going, but I can see something in the horizon that looks like, yeah, AI. Um, Students don't want to be 2 hours in a classroom.
That seems to be a universal consensus,
Uh,
right? At least that's
people
changing.
people don't want to work in the company. They want to work at home. Students might be the same. They want to study at home, be out of the
Yeah.
classroom. And of course, TikTok is growing daily, and TikTok is training a new generation to get information in 1 minute, or longer form might be 3 minutes for TikTok, but that's long for
Hmm.
TikTok. So, but they're being trained. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a kind of
I
conditioning.
I need my information now, right now, in
Yeah.
a minute, summarized, and then I can move on. And then us older generation, say, when we're giving a class for 2 hours, we have to change.
Yeah.
They're not going to adjust to us or adapt to us. We have to change. We have to
Yeah.
change. That's why this semester I'm not doing the book. I got to
I
do
think that's
something
wise.
else.
I remember working at a language school going back 10 years or so when the smartphones first started showing up. There was a lot of debate in my school. What are we going to do? Are we going to ban them? Are we going to shut off Wi-Fi in the campus? What's the right approach? And I observed my students more and more were using them in the classroom for a variety of things. But what I noticed was happening that was very organic and very real was that their attention, they weren't just using it, but their attention was lured there. They were being conditioned to focus on that. It's an attention thing, right? It's an attention economy. And my thinking was, well, that's going nowhere. That's only going to get stronger. It's only going to get more prevalent. If we want to remain relevant to our students, we have to change, like you said. But specifically, we've got to get in the phone because that's where their attention is. So that's when it first occurred to me that I've got to start using online materials, getting online, using video, using even early things like Google Drive to interact with them because that's where their attention was, and there's no amount of regulation is going to pull them out of it. The conditioning is so effective, and it's generational. That was like a first generation who had known nothing else but that.
Hmm.
There's no point in fighting it,
But
right? And I know a lot of teachers couldn't make any adaptations.
uh, yes, I in my class I do allow them to use their phone. I don't monitor that. I gave up
Yeah.
years ago. But they do use it to record my voice. They do
Hmm.
use it to check the dictionary. They do use it to play games and chat with their friends. I just tell them, I tell them at the beginning of the course, this is what you're required to do. This is what you're required to learn. And if you choose to focus on your phone, I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
I'm not policeman in that way anymore. Yeah, I tried for a few years to stop that, but
Well, they're adults and they've got to make choices and to live with the consequences, whatever they are, right?
yes.
I like this comment here from Eunice.
Eunice is from Morocco, and I wanted to visit him this winter, but unfortunately I cannot. I will maybe go to Morocco in June.
Robin, we're running out of time, so I want to reserve a few minutes here, if you don't mind, for some of the audience questions. So,
Sure.
guys out there, do you have any questions for Robin?
If you have any questions, let me know.
Let's see who's got a question for Robin? Let's say not a grammar question, but a something question.
Well, something I can answer within a minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes on the Learn English Live, I'll get that student to come. The Learn English Live, I do these live Q&As where they come in and they just ask an English question. I try to answer it within a minute or two, and then you have these students that come in and they ask these usually tense questions. It's like, I'm not teaching tense in a minute. That's not going to work. And they expect you to think up example sentences, and because with grammar, I think it's very important to prepare. If you're
Yeah.
teaching grammar, you got to prepare. Okay, these are example sentences.
Yeah.
What are the exceptions? Go through it and then teach your class. And then live, when they're coming on, it's like, I can't do that in a minute.
I found when I first started doing this show, my format was they asked me any question about grammar and I would answer it live. And I kind of liked the challenge of being put on the spot. But what I did discover was I never wanted to give a simple answer. So whatever the question was, it always opened up a long discussion about that particular grammar. But one little grammar issue is a large topic. So I decided to change the format to one question per show. And the entire hour is basically taken up with a nice thorough explanation with some graphics that I can prepare in advance and examples, like you say. I think I can deliver much better information that way.
So I decided I'll do grammar on the daily English homework, teach it, give homework. But the Learn English Live, I will address, quick, easier questions.
Yeah.
Lolly, lolly. Okay. Do you think you would stay in Korea for so long when you settled down? Or did you think? Uh, I think I didn't know I was going to stay in Korea 20 years, or it's been 23 years now, but at the 20-year point, I realized, oh, I'm going to stay in Korea. So the first 20 years in my mind, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. And then I'm here now. Of course, I do want to. When I retire, I don't want to retire in Korea. I would like to retire in another country. But I plan to stay here 1 year. Oops.
Incredible.
And
now you.
And Paul here, because my students might not know a little bit about you, but you were in Japan. Did you teach in Japan?
Very briefly, as part of a practicum, I studied at a university there, and then after that was done, I studied a TESOL program there. And part of that was teaching high school kids. So I taught at a high school there for a while. So my time there wasn't really focused on teaching. It was kind of a secondary goal, I suppose. But there's a nice comment here from Chris. And relating to my time in Japan, when I was in university, one of the things I studied grammar, like with grammarians, like professional professors whose whole life was grammar. And I actually thought about doing that, becoming a grammarian whose whole life is studying grammar, because that's the thing I liked most about the English education. So actually, once I became an English teacher, I found, to be honest with you, if I'm being perfectly honest, I didn't love teaching. You know, I love working with students, but what I really loved was the language. I really loved to analyze the language itself. So when I started making videos, it was a natural transition to just focus on the language rather than, preparing a class with activities and learning things for my students, although I did that as well. My favorite thing was just exploring the language. So there was something there that connected me to that. So it's not like I have some magic talent or magic skill for it, but I actually studied grammar deeply at university level, thinking that I would be a grammarian, whatever that is. Um, you know,
I
but
I had a basic level of grammar, uh, and as a teacher, you're learning grammar. But I didn't really get deep until probably I started the YouTube channel, and then I had to make videos, and I was like, you got to research before you make your
yeah,
script. So yeah, around 2013, my grammar knowledge increased a lot. But
it's
I don't consider myself an expert at this point. I consider myself better than average compared to other English teachers, but I'm sure you are the grammar expert.
well, it has become a kind of a singular focus for me now, and I also realize there's a need for it because there's a kind of a movement in ESL education away from grammar and more towards experiential learning and task-based learning, and all of that's great. It's all really important for language learning, but that doesn't mean, for me, it doesn't mean we should ignore grammar. Grammar still has a very important role to play in communication. Like, I've actually heard some people say we don't need to teach grammar at all. People will learn it naturally. And I'm thinking, well, try making a sentence without a grammar structure. It's going to be a word salad. It's going to be gibberish. So there has to be some level of understanding of it.
I would agree that grammar is very important, but what I find is a lot of students go too far, too deep.
Yeah,
Uh,
they get too obsessed with it, right?
and they're going into, sometimes they're asking questions like, why are you asking that question? That's a really deep grammar question that's not really going to help you speak English.
Yeah,
It's just going to help you learn that grammar.
yeah,
So I usually tell students when they cross a line and I decide the line, I guess it's like you
yep.
really don't need to be studying that deep the grammar.
I
That
agree.
that that way is too far.
Yeah.
But at a basic level, yes, you should know tenses and
Hmm.
things like that, and practice them. But there's some really strange questions. Some students bring on some really, really uh, deep grammar questions I've never heard about, and they're asking me, and it's like, I don't know.
I think what I've learned in focusing on grammar with English Weirdness and my live show is that English as a language is very irregular because of its influences from Latin and German and French. There's a lot of different logics clashing in the language. And I think students, as they progress, they sense those contradictions and exceptions and go, what the heck's going on here? I learned to do this, but now there's this phrase where people are saying this. Those contradictions pop out for them. And that's when they start asking these questions like, why this, why that? And you're right, though, whether the answer is going to be helpful or just satisfy curiosity. A lot of times it's just going to be a curiosity,
Yeah,
like almost a trivia.
understandably, they're looking for that one rule
Yes.
that helps me with this. What's the rule? Just tell me the
Yeah.
rule. And it's like,
It's not that simple.
unfortunately, there's rule. There might be a rule for this case
Yeah.
and a rule for that case, and then there's going to be these other exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
And sorry,
As I understand it, the Korean language, Hangul, was created, it was designed by a famous scholar, the great Sojong or someone, the statue downtown.
yeah, King Sejong.
Yeah, and he was ordered to design a language for the people. So it has consistent structures and rules. English was never designed. So it evolved as a mishmash as these different nations conquered England and mixed their language. So it doesn't have that kind of clean and pure patterns, I guess.
So I think modals are a great example because when you dive into modals, there's different ways to use modals, and from each modal to the next, the rules are going to change, the usage is
Yeah.
going to change, and that's why it's very difficult for students to master modals because it's case by case, modal by modal,
Modal by modal. Love it.
modal by modal.
Robin, how about this? Do you think you're going back to Canada one day?
Uh,
Has that entered your mind?
uh, Over the years, it has entered my mind, but I think first of all, I don't think I would have enough money to go back to Canada. To live in a developed country like Canada, or I traveled Canada or America or New Zealand, Australia or UK. These are very expensive countries, and I have lived and worked in Korea and paid in Korean money at a Korean rate.
Hmm.
It doesn't really compete with people who have been working in Canada for 20 years and building assets. So I don't think I could. I could go back to Canada, but my quality of life or my standard of living would certainly drop.
Hmm.
If I go to another country, I think I can maintain a higher standard of living. So at this point, I would say no, I'm not going back to Canada, but certainly I'll visit Paul there, and
Yay.
we could do a live stream in his studio
Yeah.
there. We could
Yeah,
debate about some grammar.
sure. It's interesting what you said because there's a lot of students who want to immigrate to Canada for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons I hear from Korean students or Taiwanese or Japanese is that the ones that want to live in Canada will tell me, oh, but life is so strict and severe in my country. I have to work so much. And I'm like, whoa, Canada's not Disneyland. This is a very expensive place to live. Yes, it's comfortable if you can afford it. Yes, there's a lot of positive things if you can afford it. But if you're going to live in a place like Vancouver, one of the most expensive cities in the world, you'll probably end up working all day and all night and every day because you'll need more than one job. So it's an illusion that, when a student comes to Canada, maybe Luz Mundi can attest to this. They'll come here as a student and see, oh, the Canadians are at the bar every night, or they're on the beach relaxing or snowboarding every day. Yeah, those are probably students. The people that live here are working a day job and a night job, or their partner combined income gets them through because it's a
Yeah,
very expensive place to set up shop.
I find it a so-called developed country at dual income is necessary.
Completely
If
necessary.
I'm not married myself, and I see if I went to Canada, I would need, you know,
You need a
that
wife pretty
extra.
quick.
You need a wife to
Yeah.
make money.
There's another question here, Robin.
Yes, bring them.
Sorry, I think I lost it. Let me see. Ah, here we go. Personal question. Hopefully you don't mind, but I
Oh,
think
I have no problem. Oh, okay. So Eunice, I really hate thank you, teacher. Um, Whether it's online or offline, you teach something and the student says, "Thank you, teacher," and I don't like that. Where students say, "Oh, I like you, thank you, you're a great teacher." That's you're just telling me uh, what you think I want to hear.
mm-hmm,
But what I really want is you to show me
mm-hmm,
that you're learning and using,
yeah,
then I will feel like I'm a great teacher.
yeah,
So if I teach grammar and all of a sudden, oh, thank you, teacher. That has no meaning to me. No, no, no. Wait a moment.
Hmm.
You got to show me you learned it. Then I will feel like I deserve a thank you.
Hmm.
So whenever students say thank you, teacher, I like you, teacher, you're a great teacher, I really don't like that sort of praise. What I really love is students, especially on the daily English homework, where they show me, oh, okay, I understand this and I'm using
Yeah.
this. Then I feel like, okay, I feel good. I feel good about this student and uh, teaching them.
You know, you bring up a great point because I used to experience something like that at a language school when we were in the room together and students would come and they'd say, "What should we call you? Should we call you Professor Paul or Teacher Paul?" I'm like, "You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me Bonehead. That's only for my wife." But I don't care what you call me. Oh, but we have to show respect. And like you said, if you respect me, you'll do your homework, you'll do your activities, you'll participate, and you'll improve. Because I'm not here to make myself feel good. I'm here to help you improve. And if you improve, you have demonstrated your respect for me. You know, I feel exactly the same way about that. I don't need the platitudes. I'm perfectly secure as a human being. What I need is for you to do your job, which is to learn and grow and develop and ask
Yeah,
questions when you're confused.
I am not doing YouTube so I can hear thank you. I'm
Yeah,
doing YouTube for you to learn. And
yeah,
if you learn if you listen to what I'm saying and you're learning, then I know I'm not wasting my time.
yeah,
But if you just say thank you and move on and you don't do homework, that doesn't feel sincere. Like,
yeah. And no amount of thank you, teacher, thank you, sir. None of that stuff is going to make us feel respected if they're not engaged in doing their end of it.
well, I do appreciate it when students say thank you. I'm not going to ignore that. Okay, they say thank you, and but I have a preference that you thank me by doing the work.
Yeah, truly. Guys, do you have any more questions for Robin? We don't want to keep him here all morning. He's got a Saturday to enjoy. Any other questions, guys?
All right, final questions.
This is from Chris. Chris stays up late at 3 in the morning to watch the show every week, and she's in Belgium.
Oh, wow.
So thank you for staying up every week, Chris. It's wonderful. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Salma.
Thank you, Salma.
Last call for questions for Robin. Any questions, guys?
What kind of delay do you have with your live stream? Do you know?
I think it's about a minute. Sometimes you just like now, if I ask a question, it'll take a minute to get anything on screen, plus their typing
So
time.
I used to do games on Learn English Live. And, I'd put up some question and the students have to answer. And I found that the Korean students could answer quicker than the rest of the world. They had no delay. They saw
Interesting.
me immediate, so they got their answers out, and I was like, okay, I can't give prizes. And then eventually, I stopped playing games because just everyone's on a different delay. Some people, it's their internet, it's YouTube. Some of them started the video a little later. Uh, that's okay.
Yeah, it's remarkable that we can do this and connect with these people all over the world in all these different places. I mean, I'm certainly of an age where I remember a world without internet, zero, or zero computers. Even in high school, none of us had touched a computer by then. So in my lifetime, I've seen the drastic change and appreciate it.
Yeah, I
This
learned
is magic to
typing.
me.
I learned typing on a typewriter.
Oh, here's a question. How did you meet Robin and Paul?
You joined my WhatsApp group,
Yeah,
so you
I
came into my WhatsApp group. I don't know how you found me. Maybe through Eric.
maybe, well, at some point, somehow Shaw English appeared on my YouTube feed and I started watching it. And I had also encountered Eric from Etiquette's channel and watched him. And last year, around this time, I invited him on my show. So he was a guest. And then one day I saw you and him on a show together. So I tuned into that and made a comment. And so there seemed to be some sort of mutual connection there. Maybe that's how?
Anyway, one day he came into the WhatsApp group, as some teachers do. Usually they're silent and anonymous, but you made yourself known, I think, after a day or two, and I'm happy because you're a native speaker.
That's right.
And hey, stay and participate, and
Yeah.
you can promote your stuff.
Yeah, I really appreciated that because, as I said, I've reached out to other teachers, sometimes just joining their live stream and engaging and interacting. And I learn stuff all the time. I like to learn. I like to learn what they're doing, what they're teaching. I like to meet other educators. I'm completely alone here, guys. I spend all of my week in my home studio. Only on the weekend do I get out. So I really miss that connection with other teachers that I used to have in a language school. That I do miss. And I miss my students. I like working alone, but something's lost. So it's been great to connect with you and some other teachers. But it does seem to be a problem for some. Some people don't like to respond to
I don't know what it is
teachers.
about the
I don't know what it is.
education industry on YouTube or social media. They just islands floating around. It's like
Yeah.
I'll reach out to everyone. Like
Yeah.
I reached out to big channels, and I've talked to a few big channels, but most of them won't speak to me, or they'll say,
Yeah.
what's in it for me?
There's that, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk to you, and we could share advice, stories. We could just vent. We all have the same problems and
Yeah.
frustrations, especially on YouTube. But they're not interested in that.
Yeah.
Okay, but we connected, and we seem to be on the same page on
Yeah.
the
I appreciate
value
that.
of just complaining about YouTube or talking about grammar or
Yeah.
setting up a live stream.
It's great. I really appreciate it, Robin. Before I let you go, I'm going to put you to one more question here. It's from a Facebook user, so they're inside a Facebook group. That's when
Okay.
you can't see their name.
Okay.
I think you really love Korea and people there. So do you think you can help students to improve their weakness?
Offline, I do my best to help Koreans. I'm at the university. I'm give them my full attention for the semester, in the classroom, outside the classroom. I do my best not only to teach them English, but to give them advice on potential careers, going overseas to study English or a working holiday. I advise them on many things. So I do my best to help Koreans. Uh, online, uh, for whatever reason, Koreans do not engage with me online. Very few,
Mm-hmm.
very, very few. Have you had a Korean join your live stream?
I think once. And he was someone who had participated in another initiative of mine, another project. So I knew him.
So I don't know how to engage or get the attention of
Yeah.
the Korean and Japanese audience.
Yeah.
That's my weakness, I guess. Is
I think it's a larger issue because even though I have a fair amount of connections in Japan and students in Japan, there's a hesitation to interact in English. There's a barrier there for them. I don't know if it's cultural and psychological or just.
yeah, they might not like this format either, live stream or I don't know, but yeah, I love Korea.
Great. Thank you for all your questions, folks, and thank you for joining the show. before my camera melts here, I'm going to say goodnight to you. Robin, thank you very, very much for joining the show. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I mean that.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Anytime.
sharing all your experiences and insights with our viewers. And for you viewers out there who are friends and students of Robin's, thank you for joining my show. I really appreciate it, and it's been great to meet you. Thank you, Eunice, for interacting and offering so many great comments. Thank you, Selma. Thank you, everybody. And Robin, thank you again. Good night, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Goodbye.
Okay.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, Robin. So, guys, great to have Robin Shaw on the show tonight. It's been a real pleasure for me to get to know him and to introduce him to you, the audience out there. That's all the time we have, guys. So until I see you the next time, please take care of your health, keep learning, and stay cool. Thanks for watching tonight's show. If you have an English grammar question, an English mystery, contact me on social media and send me a video of you asking the question. I'll investigate it on a future show. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button to get all the updates about videos and events. If you're feeling generous, you can also donate to the production costs of the show at Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. Finally, until the next time I see you on Hardboiled English Live, I want you to keep learning English. Stay healthy and stay cool.